hydrangeas. And one of them just it was really nice and pretty. All both of them, and then all of a sudden one just didn't do anything. It was just like getting worse all the time.
Going live here.
And I couldn't figure what it was.
And 3, 2, 1, we are live.
We live? We're live. So, welcome to the August 2022 meeting of Calvert City Council. We can't hear a word I'm saying. Okay, Glenn, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Thank you. So everyone's here. Councilman Stokes is attending at distance. So has everybody had a chance to review the minutes for the last meeting, July 11th? And if so, I'd entertain a motion. Got a motion to accept? Second. And a second. All in favor, say aye. All right. Thank you for that. Moving on down the agenda, we always kick off with some fun stuff. The Youth Voice Writing Contest winner. And Blair is in the house tonight.
This month's winner is Kira Tynes.
Kira Tynes.
Kira Tynes. She's from Reedland Middle School. She's 13. She enjoys going to the beach, listening to music, and running track. And her piece is Just Go For It. It'll be in Lake News this Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
This Wednesday, and then also put it on our website. Just finished.
I'll be looking forward to reading about Just Go For It.
No, me and Blair.
Okay. Moving along. I don't know whether to classify this as old business. I guess we can classify as old business. We're going to talk. Nita's got some handouts for us tonight. Uh-oh.
We have some new employees,
All right.
new firefighters.
New firefighters. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into new
Okay.
business.
We put back the $100,000 for possible grants, and we sort of rethought it just a little bit. And Blair and I have worked. Blair has done a lot of work to help me on this, and we used some other grants from other cities as models, plus a grant that she had already created and stuff to try to come up with grants that we thought would work to help us with disaster preparedness in the city. There's one grant for $75,000 for a 40 kilowatt generator. And, you can see on your sheet here, and Greg has not reviewed this only because we just finished it today, and we figured if there was any changes that you all wanted to make, we could make them prior to him reviewing it, and that way it would maybe cut down on some of the time. The other $25,000, we were opening that up for emergency preparedness, and these are open to nonprofits located within the city limits of Calvert City. We do have a stipulation in there that they have to be in the city 25 years, but that may or may not have to be in there. I happen to remember there's one of the churches, just in case that they wanted to, he's been here less than 25 years, and that would be the Three Rivers Church. I think it's Three Rivers on 95. They've been here less than 20 years. So,
95 motorsports.
so that might be, yeah. On the copy that you all have, the emergency preparedness grant, if you will look down under who is eligible to apply, remove from the second point there, remove Red Cross, because on that one, it's not Red Cross certification is not needed. On that one, that's not for the generator, that's for the smaller grants. It's at the top, it says emergency preparedness grant.
Okay,
The other one is the emergency power grant.
and that one has to happen.
Right.
Okay.
What we all know pretty much what we're talking about with the $75,000 grant to have a space big enough that we can take care of a lot of our citizenry. And if there should be a natural disaster or an emergency situation such as the ice storm or tornado or something, well, that's natural, but we have the plants, we have different things that could happen. We have tried to put guidelines in there that we feel like would be feasible and would work for what we're needing and wanting done. And the main thing is to protect our citizens. The $25,000 grant, the $75,000 grant is going to take a big commitment from the church to do what, or organization to do whatever they need to do. The smaller grants give other nonprofits within the city limits a chance to maybe buy or put money towards a generator if they wanted to have secondary power. If they didn't have the defibrillator, a lot of churches already and organizations already have that. But if they didn't have that, maybe we've listed things, a commercial first aid kit and weather radios, just things like that. And the grants would be in increments as long as, as far as the money would reach, up to $10,000 and as low as $1,000. The church who applies for the 75,000, I say churches, but the organization that applies for the $75,000 grant cannot apply for another grant. You can only apply for one. I'm going to use this as an example. The Presbyterian Church has already done some things on their own as far as setting up for storm preparedness. If there was something in addition that they needed to do, they could fill out the grant application and maybe be selected for the grant. So what I'm asking for you all tonight is, first of all, that you agree with what we have in motion here after Greg can approve it or make the changes that he needs to make. Give us the go ahead on that. The other thing is, in order to award the grants, we are going to need a grant committee to review those applications and things. And I have two different scenarios that I've come up with. If you all have another one, please tell me. But one would be if the council wants to be that committee, and that's legally okay with Greg, if the council wants to be the committee, or if you would rather have a committee that was made up of council members, and I'd like for Blair to be on it because she's done so much work on it. And I have citizens that I've talked to that would be willing to serve on there that would be part of it. It's just up to you whether or not you want it to be, if you want to be the people, have a meeting and go over the grant applications once we get those, or if you would rather have a separate committee.
How many do we have to be considered a committee?
I don't think you have. I had five or six in mind is what I had in mind.
So I didn't know if there was a set number. Okay. I don't do either way.
So we're looking for two things.
I think that's what
I'd
Greg.
be happy to do as a council, and I'd be happy to do it if it's just taken from the community.
Well, two things. One is general support and comment, and then
Right.
two is input into formation of a committee. Is that
Right.
so? Did everybody just get a copy of these tonight?
And I'm sorry we didn't get them faster. We just got them finished today at night.
So conceptually, I guess this is the first time that I've learned of a emergency preparedness grant and the higher level grant. And I don't know if other folks have known about that or not. So Nita's seeking some clarification, want to get this to the council's hands and get it in your hands for, commentary. And so it was distributed. Now, has anybody got any questions right off the bat for Nita that you want to?
One of my questions was the committee.
Okay. That's good. And this is the first time we've done this, so we're sort of,
We can come back for another reading.
right. It's my understanding that this is, with the exception of the smaller grants, we've not talked about that. That's just something that I talked to Blair about because we talked about originally taking some of that money that we didn't use and maybe use it for some sort of economic development or some kind of incentive or something to help with housing or property cleanup or somewhere around here. But when I went to Blair, she was perfectly fine with us doing it this way. And this way it opens up the opportunity for any nonprofit within the city to apply for this. Then if nobody applies, that money, the council, we have that $100,000. If we wanted to, we could go back and decide whether or not what we wanted to do with it. If we don't award all the money.
Nita, is the 75, is that up to?
Up to 75. That's a
75?
that's a
Okay.
maximum amount.
Okay. All right.
And most of these amounts, the nonprofit would have to have some ownership of their own as far as work equity, their own equity in whatever the project was. So I guess it would be, if it's okay, if we could, I don't know whether you vote or just verbally say that, if we could agree that this is okay and we're going to send it to Greg for his review.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I have is, once we get to the point when we move forward and Greg has reviewed it, there needs to be some kind of action. And I don't know what type of action to say, hey, we're going to have this competitive grant process. And so, it'll be refined by then. There'll be some kind of a action I'm just talking out loud.
No, you're
Somebody's gonna
fine,
have to tell me how to be some kind of action taken to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and move forward with this, right?
Are we talking putting it in the newspaper and putting it online? That would actually
I
make
think
some-
any way we can get it out there. And I mean, I'm
The radio.
that, and I don't have a problem with calling or sending a letter to every nonprofit. There's not that many, but we have,
Yeah.
I would say the one that comes to mind, there may be more, is the Masonic Lodge is a nonprofit. You'll notice in the grant, it does say they have to have a brick and mortar location, and they're one nonprofit that does, so. The truth of the matter is, when you live in a community this small, to have a large structure, it's going to be a church.
Kevin, you got any questions or anything? Can you hear us okay?
I can hear y'all just fine. I would just like for somebody tomorrow or something to send me a copy of the stuff that needed presenting, because I don't
Okay,
have.
Sorry, Kevin.
Oh, that's okay. Nobody know. I didn't know I had to work late tonight either, so it's not a problem. I just like to, before I would comment one way or the other, I'd just like to see what she's presented, which would be fine.
Okay.
We can take this packet and drop it by.
That or Blair,
by his house.
can you-
I'll bring it to you.
Can you email it
There
to
you
him?
go. We'll send a courier.
I think-
Courier,
I think the courier just emailed it to him.
well, we're
Okay.
gonna send his.
That too, yeah.
His book.
That'll be fine.
Okay. So the items on the other preparedness grant, I guess we might ought to go down through their bullet items, just
Okay.
because folks can watch this, what there might be. So there's
Oh.
a grant avenue for up to a maximum of 75,000 for a 40 kilowatt generator, a minimum of 40 kilowatt generator. And then the other one is emergency preparedness grant, and the visualization of what this could be used for would be.
These are some of the things I mentioned a few minutes ago, and this is not limited to this, because there may be something that comes up that we want. First of all, I'm going to give you the eligibility requirements. The location must be easily accessible to Calvert City citizens and within the city limits. They must agree to be available to the public during declared emergency situations, including but not limited to disaster emergencies declared by the city of Calvert. And this is the emergency preparedness grant. The state of Kentucky, the federal government, or at the organization's discretion. For instance, if they wanted to open up their church on their building on their own for a cooling center or for a warming center, they would have their own discretion to do that. We don't want it where one or two people could come down there and ask them to open it up. We want to have a process. It must be designated as a nonprofit by the Internal Revenue Service. It must be a brick and mortar structure. It must be open and operating for at least, and I'm going to change that to 15. And Greg we may not even need that in there. To me, we got this from one of the grants that Murray did, and I think that it's fact just that you wouldn't have a fly by night something coming in, which it would be hard to do with a brick and mortar, but it's just trying to protect us. Whatever items they ask for in the grant must be directly associated with the building, that, attached to the building or contained within the building some way. And it must, I went ahead and said it must be permanently attached or contained within the structure. That's where you don't want, my logic was thinking that you can have portable generators that are like on wheels and stuff. You don't want to give money for something like that, and then when there's an emergency, one of the members has it somewhere. When I'm thinking of generators in this, it's more of like the in-house generators that are set up and wired into the building. They're just not used. That's or something that can't be easily moved. And like I said, we mentioned the automated external defibrillators. And we use the term backup generators, commercial first aid kits, construction of showers, weather radios, emergency supplies. And what we were thinking about that was, and I don't know the right terminology for them, but like aluminum looking type thin blankets that they have for people who are in shock or people who need to be warmed, those kind of emergency supplies that you have that would not be included in your first aid kit. And the commercial first aid kit, I'm thinking something like one of the plants or a big corporation would use, that you have a big deal on the wall that's got everything there, that could be back in one of the storage rooms and things. Shelter in place supplies. I'm not, a lot of those these are just things that they can apply for. Retrofits to utilities and other infrastructure to enhance resistance to natural hazards. There's probably anything that you do that, this would just be a help with it. There used to be some extra, I know with earthquake protection and things like that, there's some things that you can do to stabilize your buildings or ties or something like that, like guy wires and things. And emergency lighting that, I don't know, I was thinking something about that if you had to have some kind of outdoor lighting at a facility, say if you had an emergency big enough that you had to have a triage unit outside, that you would have some emergency lighting. This is just things that we came up with to try to give a general idea of what we were talking about and trying to do, to help.
I can give you, for example, we're buying $2,800 worth of blinds. These roads.
Gotcha.
So you wouldn't think, that would be something you'd have to deal with, but our blinds are just don't work out. So.
Well, and yeah, and you might need some kind of for a shelter in place, there might be some kind of extra blinds there that you could use that would keep out anything, and going to the emergency power grant. Are there any questions on the emergency preparedness grant? Do y'all have any questions on it?
I don't really have any questions, but I am looking at the back page of the applications. I understand that since it's after it's been awarded to you. That 10,000 grant that I was awarded, I'm just thinking about what they asked. On your third bullet, that if you're awarded the grant, it requires to submit documentations. Well, I have to not only submit documentation of receipts, but also a photo. So if you're wanting it to be stationed attached to a building where it's not moved, maybe we'd like a picture of that.
Yes, that's a good idea.
And then it asked about that it has to be spent within a timely fashion. My timely fashion was 6 months. So I didn't know if maybe we should.
We probably need to do that. I think we're just holding off, not knowing when we were going to get it together enough to offer, but 6 months is,
And that may be listed the exact same.
Okay.
on this one.
Okay.
I haven't got that far. Same.
Okay, good points.
Is there a time period? Have you thought about a time period
That's,
for the provision of these services?
I'm not sure that we could do that, Greg. I don't know, some of that would go into a contract. I think, we talked, Morgan, there was an email from her. I don't know if, we could do 50, if we can, 15 years or whatever the life of a generator would be fine with me if that needs to be in there. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah, I kind of wondered about
That's a good question.
that.
Yeah,
particular
that's-
question too. You don't expect an institution like a church to not be here, but they're closing all the time.
Well, and there's a life expectancy, whatever it is that they spend these funds on. Generally, it's equipment of some sort, and it has a life expectancy.
I've-
That's it.
So
the only,
you wouldn't want to do it for 1 year and then.
No.
and then quit.
Yeah.
But then again, you wouldn't want to say you got to do it for 50 years.
Yeah.
Right.
The thing wore out 45 years ago.
right.
Right.
And then something else you've got to think about is what's the repercussion if you don't?
I think it's in here that it's legal action. You could take legal action. You'd probably have to do that to get it back. That we put
To
in
get the,
whatever you
Yeah,
had
would-
back, or
would that be it if violation of whatever the,
let me see what,
I assume you're gonna make the grant based on the proposal. Each person
yes,
requesting is
yes,
gonna make a proposal.
yes,
And so with that proposal, you will say, okay, these are the terms, this is what you're promising to do with the funds. And on that basis, we're gonna receive the grant. And so then if they, like you were saying, you've got to provide documentation and so forth, that you've done what you've done, okay, well, you've done that. But then the generator blows a piston or whatever, whatever, and it's got to be repaired.
that's their generator.
And it's their generator, but if they don't repair it, if they don't have enough funds or whatever, then the question then becomes, okay, so does the city then say, all right, if you violate the terms of your grant, you have to give the money back? You see what I'm saying?
I see
Because-
what you're saying.
Because in 12 years, if it's a 15-year, and they provide the service for 12 years, but they don't provide it for the last 3 because something went wrong, or they ran out of money, or they disbanded, or whatever. Then what? And it's just a hard question.
One of the
I'm
things
just
we've
throwing that
got,
out to
yeah,
y'all. Y'all
one of the
decide whatever
things,
you wanna do.
we have the city of Calvert City will be entitled to bring any and all legal actions to recover any unspent or ineligible spent funds if documentation of expenditures is not submitted within a timely fashion of the project completion. And we could add that time in there. What I understood from Morgan, and I don't know how this would be in there, that there's a line there that you have to walk between the grant and when we make it a contract, and we can't make it a contract. But I don't, that,
Except that they're all kind of contracts, it's just that a grant is a different kind of contract.
but, well, yeah, but she said if it
It's
gets
not
in, you know, she said she wouldn't recommend one that was contractual.
Yeah, she was saying that enforcing is difficult. And it is. It is enforcing, like 12 years from now, enforcing is difficult.
Right,
And you gotta keep up with it, and you gotta watch it, and that kind of
Well,
stuff.
and
and
I'm-
that is difficult.
right, it is. But we're also under the hope that we never have to use it,
Oh, sure.
Yeah, for sure.
so
Yeah.
I think it's a lot like grace. You sort of, to a point, got to give it freely, and it's up to the people who get it to do what's right about it. We can't cover everything, but I don't mind putting that in there if it needs to be. I think 15 years is probably a good figure. 15 to 20,
It may be what they're buying, it may depend on what they're buying.
right?
Maybe they've got like proposals saying, we're doing this for X period.
Okay,
period of time. That may be a part of the
okay.
proposal.
Okay,
Because if I'm, make sure that I'm understanding, what we're doing is we're allowing members of the community to provide, in effect, governmental services, emergency services. We have the right, that's why we all pay taxes. is
well, they do
for that
anyway.
kind of
I
thing.
mean,
But we're making these grants so that they can provide service to the public that we would otherwise have the right to provide, but we're allowing them to provide it. And we're assisting them in providing those governmental services. So.
The thing is
all
they
we're doing
want
is
to
just
provide
matching
it.
up.
Yeah.
We're just matching up, $75,000 buys, that's the contract word. But $75,000 provides what to the city, and you guys then make the legitimate decision, yes, it's worth it. What they're proposing here
right.
is worth $75,000. And so they just have to do whatever it is that they said they did, and if they don't do it, then you gotta get $75,000. I guess. I'm
I don't know, if we didn't,
I'm not-
what would happen to the city if we received a grant and we didn't follow through with it?
If we didn't follow, I mean, generally there's stipulations up front, what the money can be used for and how it's to be used and how it's to be maintained. I mean, they could always come back and ask for the money back. I mean,
Yeah,
if we
I
didn't
was
do it
thinking of
that way.
some of those US, is it Department of Agriculture grants or
Well,
wherever they are?
the biggest one
we
I'm
have to have
thinking,
those signs in these
it's the
parks.
Land and Water Conservation Fund.
They go forever.
LWCF. That's eternity.
Okay,
When you get land, when we got money for the tennis court, that's gotta be a tennis court forever and ever, amen. And we have to maintain a sign on it.
Or give them the money back.
so we can add that to it. I don't, that's,
But I think
Yeah,
that,
forever
I
is
think
a
there's
pretty
a
long
time, I think there's a life in expectancy
Really?
on a generator though. So, the forever and ever, I mean,
They do what they want.
It's not 15 years.
but I agree with you. I think there's a life expectancy on that.
I thought what I read, I think y'all told me 15 at one time, and then I read some FEMA stuff and it could be as much as 19,
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I figured it was somewhere between 19 and 20.
but I think 15 would be a good, and I do want to protect the city. I'm not talking about just throwing it out there. My logic here, and I'll try to hurry this up, is, I don't want to get it into where we get in trouble with it not being a grant any longer. But that, we'll add that to it before we send it to you, Greg, if that's, and,
Yeah, and you
and,
might
I'm
want
gonna
to maintain some flexibility, because if somebody's gonna put it, if somebody's gonna put in, I don't know, weather radios.
yeah, there's
that
got
would
to be,
a different lifespan.
Absolutely.
than a-
Yeah.
absolutely.
The second
absolutely.
grants list has got a lot different lifestyles,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
within
there-
the list and certainly with compared to generators. as
Right.
Jen said.
Yeah.
We're just trying to, to help with emergency preparedness. And there is a I hope that it doesn't work this way, but there's a very real possibility that nobody will apply for it. I mean, we don't know.
Well, I
but-
appreciate it. Keep, the theory is keep it simple and don't make it too intimidating. And why do you offer grant anyway? To try to get people, to do things that you can't do easily yourself. And then, we have to make sure we can define what those are to the extent that we have to and keep it simple, right? So,
Right. Do you want me to go over the eligibility for the power grant, or not just for the people that are listening? Or I know I've taken up a lot of time.
well, it hadn't been hammered out yet. You want to give it a real briefing? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, for the emergency power grant, the applicants must be a Red Cross certified facility. They must have an established commercial kitchen. It must be easily accessible to Calvert City citizens and within the city limits. They must agree to be available to the public during declared emergency situations, including but not limited to disaster emergencies declared by the city of Calvert City, Red Cross, state of Kentucky, the federal government, or at the organization's discretion for an emergency shelter. Must install a generator that meets a minimum 40 kilowatt, must be designated as a nonprofit by the Internal Revenue Service, must be a brick and mortar location no less than 4,500 square feet. It must be open and operating for at least 25 years, and we're flexible with that. And we added in there, must have nursery facilities for children and infants.
4,500 doesn't limit us to any particular one facility, does it?
No,
Okay, all right,
I will be honest with you, I took an average.
okay.
And, but I wanted it big enough to start with. You're not going to need a 40-watt generator for 1,000 square feet.
Exactly.
But I tried to go down there and I took an average. I got some figures from different facilities and took an average, and I came up with 4,500.
So
That's- I would like to have, after Greg checks it, if we're going to go through this, to find out which way you want to do the committee, where I could I've contacted 2 of the 3 people that I had in mind. 2 have already agreed, 1 I've not talked to. If we're going to go that way, it's not where I could let them know. And they will be doing, they'll be going over these applications and, seeing how they measure up and stuff. But it won't be a lot of work, but, or if the council can do it, we would probably have to have a special meeting to do that. So whichever way y'all want to do it.
So if Greg's going to have input to it and it's going to go through some kind of iteration, are we looking at having this in front of council next regular council meeting? Okay. And then figure out how to proceed from there.
Okay.
Is that what I,
What do you guys want me to do?
Well, I mean, are we all in agreement? This is what we're going to do.
Well, I want to, this is kind of a horse after the cart, I guess, kind of question, but because, I mean, I think we all want to do what this is supposed to accomplish and appreciate everybody's, and we know who they are, everybody's work up to this point, but given the nature of the way that we're talking about doing this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we really haven't done anything like this before. Do we all feel pretty good about doing it this way? And I apologize that, you know, this is kind of a maybe a question that should have been asked before,
Is
but
there another way to do
well, is this a way that we're all comfortable with doing this? Because 3 or 4 months ago, I would have thought you can't do that, you know, because
We've
I
always,
just didn't think you could. And then it kind of seemed like we learned that we could do it. And are we all comfortable that that's what we want to do? Because we are kind of setting a little bit of a precedent.
okay, Ralph, if I could answer part of that.
Yeah.
When we first started talking about it, we talked about using the ARPA funds. And there's no problem at all with doing the ARPA funds. You know, they have used those for things like Benton used theirs for business storefronts that had lost money during COVID and things like that. So I mean, they've asked, you know, Gene has had, he can tell you different requests that he's had from the community for ARPA funds and stuff, written letters and stuff. What my concern was a couple of meetings ago was when it was decided to use the ARPA money for the water department, was that we couldn't take it out of the general funds. And what Morgan and Greg, if I'm wrong, tell me, when I contacted her, the reason that she suggested the ARPA funds to me for a grant was because most cities are not in the position to have the money to offer a grant like we are, that they had to use the ARPA funds. So we're fortunate in that one. She is the one that suggested, Morgan Pearson from Kentucky League of Cities, which is an advisory committee. She is the one suggesting that the grant was the route to go. And Greg.
Yeah, she was just mentioning one but yeah, it's the way of accomplishing. It's just another way of accomplishing what cities are charged to do. Cities have taxing authority. They can take your money to provide the services that cities, we all kind of know. It's a general category of the municipal services that cities can provide, and they have the right to take our tax money to do it. And so this is just another way of spending tax money to provide services that cities are authorized to provide, and certainly emergency protection for citizenry is something that cities can provide. But you do have to be responsible about it. That's what this is. Just trying to be responsible about it. It's not just a wing and a prayer. Here, I'll give you $5,000 to promise to do something nice with it. It's not that. It's you have to do this, and you have to provide proof that you actually bought the thing that the city has the authority to provide with the funds. And then, and when you talk a little bit, like, I apologize, I'm a lawyer, I can't help it. Everything I read, there's 20 questions for everything. But when we say has to have an established commercial kitchen, that there's an implication there that why do you need a commercial kitchen? What are you going to do with it? Are you going to?
Well, they can feed the people in case they.
And that's the part. That's the part that we need to probably questions like that. We probably need to clarify. If we're going to require them to have a commercial kitchen, then do we want them to, as they make their grant proposal, do we want them to tell us what they're going to provide, or what they're capable of providing, or what they're providing? Because that's what you guys have to do, is just to make sure that when you grant funds to somebody, that the city is, what you're doing is spending the money on what you got the authority to spend the money on. And you can do it by grant. And the grant, what's grant about this is that anybody can come get it. You know, it's just anybody can make an application to be it's almost like bidding. You know, it's a way to find somebody to provide those services. And so all we need to do in this is just define what those services are, or tell them. we need
I
them to
think with
define what
them to
services
define the
are.
services in the
Yeah,
application.
and you might even want them to provide the length of time, because depending upon what it is that they're proposing to purchase, that may determine how long they feel capable
Okay.
with this many dollars, they can
Yeah,
provide this.
But we have established commercial kitchen and we don't have the kitchen on the smaller grant. It's only on the
Right.
$75,000 grant.
But we may want to say, as a part of your proposal, explain or describe
Yeah.
whatever you're gonna provide,
The services.
the service, whatever the commercial kitchen is gonna use.
The ability to provide so much service, because even though I kind of think that I know that my kitchen is not a commercial kitchen, somewhere between my kitchen and
There's
a big restaurant or a cafeteria is commercial. Well, what about in between that? When is it leave one and become the other?
I think you had a definition for that, didn't you? There's a clear definition for it.
And I think John kind of alluded to this a little bit, but you don't feel like that this is too restrictive in the requirements to limit the potential bidders, if that's what they are.
I think the way it's set up, the three major ones in town would be, if we figure space and what they have, there's three entities that could be applied.
Everything is gray. Nothing's black and white. Everything's gray. And so the question is it reasonable, and is it likely to achieve the result that you're trying to achieve? Have you taken reasonable precautions to make sure that the dollars that you're spending are going to provide the service that you're spending them on? And it's all gray. I mean, because every situation is different. I mean, this one's for providing power, emergency power. Another one may be for addressing flooding, or I don't know, any number of, there's a million of those things.
Right.
And so there's not a lot of black and white lines. It's just, are you making reasonable efforts to provide proper governmental services, and are you taking reasonable efforts to make sure that your expenditure of those funds is reasonable?
See, I kind of wonder if that wouldn't follow in on the application and the committee who's reviewing it. What do you want it for?
It
How are
is.
you going to use it?
Yeah.
So I feel like you
The
might get more
application
black
is
and
just going
white
to be
when you put it before your committee and they make that decision.
right.
Right.
You just want, I think you just want to be sure on your application that you ask
Yes.
the right questions and put the right parameters on it, so that when you get a bunch of bids in, you can actually, you've got stuff that you can compare. You've got information that you can compare and make a fair decision. Yes, this is a good expenditure of funds.
Are we in any way, do we have any responsibility for continued oversight?
No,
We don't.
not other than what he's talking about. I mean, as far as the maintenance and things like that, it's just if they, like you said, if the church closed, then I would think that we would come back and get, if you had,
Or moved, would have been moved out of the city.
well,
Again,
but it's a building. It has to be attached to the building. So it's,
So they can move, but the building cannot.
I don't think you can cover every scenario
True.
that might happen. And I think it's that you have to weigh the difference if you're trying to provide something that would be beneficial to all the citizens that we have, or you're going to be worried about whether or not they do exactly what we want them to do. It's
Well, I think Nita said it earlier. You're cutting the line. If we go down this road, you're cutting the line between grace and a contract. And if you give somebody $75,000 to do something, I bet your ability to go in and seize an asset, which you don't have title to, will be nil. Okay.
Mhm.
But then that's
Probably
part
the
of
same
the
for
desire to
use.
get some longevity as an entity in the community, and some faith that whoever you're showing grace to is going to do it. And I don't know how it all fits together.
and you could say on a contractual issue that we could hire a company in here and they botched the job that they're doing.
Mhm.
And it would cost us more to take legal action to get our money back than it would be to just fix it. we don't have guarantees and contracts that everything's gonna be done just right. I mean, that, I'm not trying to, I'm just saying, that's just a part of life.
That the fact that this, if we were bidding, if we were doing grants for somebody to come in here and bid, not to bid, somebody to come in here and build us a playground. Well, that's kind of one and done. Once the playground's built, you've got a playground and it's either a good playground or it's not, and it's sort of over. That's the difficulty of this particular kind of a grant, because it's not building a playground, it's providing an emergency service over some period of time. And that's what makes it a little harder to get you.
But then you go back to the playground, and if that playground equipment didn't hold up and it didn't last for what the guarantee was, what would we do? We would probably eat it. I mean, just.
Yeah, again, you just have to be reasonable.
Yeah.
Reasonable is not the right word. You've got to be what you would require your children to be. You've got to be responsible. You're using somebody else's money, use it responsibly. That's what it is.
And when it comes back down, when it really does come down to it, if we do this, like we said we would, we're using this money that people have paid in taxes to take care of them,
right,
to do our best to take care of them.
Right.
So we got some paperwork to look over. There's going to be some work. You'll be presented another iteration of it. And, I don't know if we need to do a special call to hammer that out or something. We're not really looking for that right now, but if something comes up that gets complicated, maybe we'll ask for a special. I don't know.
Do you want to try to get a decision on the committee tonight, or do you want to wait? You want to decide, work that over some in your head some? Does the council want to be the committee? Kevin?
I've got no opinion. I haven't seen none of the paperwork, so I have no opinion.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
What you might get next month is some questions.
Okay, that's fair.
Tell us how to answer these questions, because what we're trying to do is put together these applications.
Now, who you want to answer the questions?
Y'all answer, because
I guess
just like that commercial kitchen thing. Do you want them to make a proposal with regard to what kitchen services they're going to provide with this?
I mean, I think we're getting way, we're just trying to get it in there. Is we don't want a building where you can't feed the people if you're housing them. It's just that simple. And I think if we go into all that other stuff, and the reason we said commercial kitchen is because you can't feed 100 people if you had to on a kitchen stove.
And we have two churches here that have commercial
to
kitchens.
provide those kinds of services.
No, it goes to the Red, on the commercial power grant, it goes to the Red Cross. They take over the services. We don't know. You might have to shelter them in place for 12 hours, or you might have to provide shelter for 12 hours and you don't ever feed them. I mean, it's not, whatever you plan, it's usually not going to go that way. You can't plan a disaster. If a tornado rips through town and nobody has power except whoever gets the grant, and people go down there, they may just be there until they can get relocated somewhere else. There may not be a meal, but at the same time, it might be like the ice storm. And if people were there and they were there for 2 days, they're going to have to be fed. They could either bring food in or they could use the kitchen. We can't dictate every little thing. To me, you're looking at a lawyer's mind and I'm looking at a citizen's mind. I think, and they're both good. They're both really good, but some things are just understood.
There is something
Well,
else.
if the Red Cross is gonna open, they're gonna want to supplying you with meals and even if they're MREs, the meals ready to eat, they're gonna produce some of those anyway, so that doesn't mean the kitchen won't be necessary, because again,
I mean, I can
long-term
take,
situation.
I can take kitchen out. It's, it's.
No, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
long-term situation, it's not a bad idea to keep that in there, but
Kitchen.
I think that Red Cross is probably gonna intervene on some of that.
I
They
thought
are,
Red Cross
wanted a kitchen. I thought that they
I
had to
think it's
have that.
required, if I'm not mistaken.
Folks, I got.
Yeah, we gotta cut it, cause I know you.
Well,
got-
we're going to move on, but if it is a situation such that Red Cross has been mobilized, all this stuff will be redrawn.
Yes,
I mean, the phone calls will be made, and
yeah,
help will be pouring in and it'll be redrawn. The real value of this is those early hours and days
24 to 72 hours.
until we figure out what happened to Calvert City, like, by golly, Kentucky's got a lot of problems this year. And so we can certainly visualize and see what our fellow citizens are going through. So this is an attempt, we've got it in the budget. And this is an attempt to keep it simple, keep it legal, and just do something to help some folks within and make sure that we aren't just dispensing tax money like a vending machine, that we're actually going to get some folks who care for our community to do things that government can't do for ourselves. And we're going to help facilitate it. Okay, that's the plan. So we've got a proposal on the table, and Nita, I want to thank you and with Blair's
Blair,
helping too. I
Blair.
think it's a good, it's better than the first run is what I want to say. I mean, it's way on down the path, and it's to grow on and move forward. And
I apologize, guys. I'm so sorry.
no, it's fine. So with that said, if you have questions,
Call me or,
call Nita and or Blair or even me, and I'll get Nita and I will be talking, I'm sure, as this moves forward. And we'll get this out here, and maybe we can get some iterative things going on. And it may be that we have to do a special at some point. But as far as the committee goes, you were looking for, would it make sense to see what we're going to do and then work on the committee? Or-
either way, just, that's fine. And the two thoughts I would like for you to keep in mind, either the 6-member council does it, or we have 3 council members and 3 members of the community, whichever way you think would be best.
So mull
And
that
I-
over.
And what,
4 makes a quorum.
and,
4 members of the council makes a quorum.
and I would like for Blair to be on the committee as well.
You might want to consider an odd number, honestly.
Because you had a vote, yeah, that's good, yeah, well,
However you want to distribute
Then-
that, but I think you
right,
might
yeah.
consider an odd
so let's
number.
just say a 7-member committee, and then that way with Blair, and I'd like to be, but that's, it's like,
Okay. Ready to move on? right. Any questions? Looking around. Kevin, we got a special messenger coming your way tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to jump in and break into the agenda. And we've got some visitors here tonight from the fire department. Who's going to introduce them? What's going on here?
I'm gonna let them introduce themselves.
Oh, you're going to make them introduce themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Start out.
Come on up. Come on up.
Tell your name and why you want to be a firefighter.
I am Skylar Brinkley. I joined the fire department because my grandfather put in time at Benton for like 20-something years. And then my dad is also on Calvert Fire. And I grew up just watching my grandfather and just really wanted to follow in his footsteps. And now my father's, and
thank you. That's-
All right. Well, thanks.
I am Taryn Crabtree, and my dad has been a firefighter for most of his life. I've always just wanted to help people in some way, and I figured I'd give it a shot. So that's why I did it.
All right.
All right. Taryn, is that right? Taryn?
Yes.
Thank you. And last but not least,
My name is Cammie Heffington, and I don't have any family on the fire department.
oh,
I'm following anyone's footsteps. Starting my own. I hope my kids will follow mine and want to serve our community and work to help everybody make a better community. I grew up in Calvert. I love it here. I hope to buy a home here and stay here and be on the department, and so I can let my kids join in and have some fun.
All right.
Tammy, what's your last name again?
Heffington.
Effington?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Man, it's pretty bad to put you guys on the spot like that.
Can I get a picture of this? Stand right over here for me. Okay. Come off the wall. Oh, well, they take you so far.
What happens with people like this, they have to get what's called their basic training before they can do anything. I mean, even go to a scene or touch a hose or put on gear. And all three of these already have their basic training.
All
So
right.
they're able to help us very much in that aspect.
And Candy also on the EMT, so she'll be
Right.
joining the
Awesome.
first
That's good.
responder program for long.
Good.
That's it.
EMT, and they just give those away. So congratulations. I'm impressed. Yeah. So when did you get your EMT?
May 8th of 2021,
Okay.
Awesome.
or 2020, I'm so sorry.
Well, congratulations on the achievement and welcome to the fire department, everybody. All right.
Thank you for your service coming in to the community.
And we're gonna make you guys stay to the bitter end. Nah, if you guys want to, you can stick around for the council meeting, but I wanted to get you guys introduced in case you know, you might have something that you may need to do on Monday night. But I keep dinner. Okay, back to the regularly scheduled agenda. New business. That was some good new business introductions and firefighters. Any other new business from council?
That's one of the things we're gonna start trying to do is anytime we have new employees, making sure they're coming and they're introduced to the council.
Thank you.
So you guys actually get the chance to see them, put the name and the face together so that, just so.
Appreciate it.
And then that gives them some recognition too. So,
Well, and the community gets to see them as well.
exactly.
Good.
Exactly. And volunteers get paid so much, you know.
All right, so new business. This is a regular scheduled council meeting. We've got an executive session about some land acquisition, maybe in our future. The council will make a motion in a second, but before we get to that, is there something for open session we need to talk about?
You want to go through your reports?
Yeah, we'll go through that
Okay.
too. So.
I don't know if this would be now or at the end, but I put on Facebook when we talked about the animals and not letting dogs and stuff in the splash pad, and I've gotten probably 8 or 10 about not having any kind of shade there
Mhm.
at the splash pad. And I know that we have a certain aesthetic that we want to keep there, but it's also, the more I think about it, it's not right for parents or to have to leave their children to go get in the shade when they're playing in the pad. And I was wondering if we couldn't get, I think Blair already has some, but if we couldn't buy some, like those side umbrellas that could sit behind the benches and could come over and shade the benches. And we could maybe, if we had to, just use them 3 months out of the year, the hottest weather. And just, all anybody have to do is roll them down at night.
I think our Parks Board has had requests to the Parks Board on this. So they covered it
They-
in open
They
session.
talked to me about shade and stuff like that. And I'm trying to figure out something that would look good that we could actually take down in the winter time, but leave up in the summertime. If we're gonna do something like that, then I say we set an anchor point where they can actually bring their own umbrella and just stick it down there and utilize it there and then take it home with them. The other thing is we'd have to do something that can be mounted and then dismounted in the fall.
Well, those that I'm talking about could, and I don't think you want everybody bringing their umbrellas down there and not know what they're going to look like or what they're going to have. And
To say it's gonna look the same. I mean, if they use umbrellas or we put umbrellas out, they're gonna look like umbrellas.
if you had matching umbrellas around the benches, it's not going to look like somebody bringing a bench umbrella.
And that's what
and
I
setting it
say,
down
I'll look at something that's gonna actually maybe go with it.
there. Okay,
rather
I'll
than-
show you some pictures of what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, but yeah, bring them up, but I'm looking at something that's probably more like a sail.
That's good too.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, just something that gives it a little artistic, because this is a focal point of our park. And I don't want it, do we want it to look like a focal point, or we do want to look like a diner market? I want to make sure that whatever we're doing is actually going to blend with that. And I understand what you're saying.
Well, and I've had some of the comments from older people who don't have children there who like to go and sit in the benches and watch the
Sure.
fountain. So, I mean, I think we can find a happy medium.
Undertow.
That's good.
I think the idea of people having their own umbrella is probably pretty far fetched. That will get something that will be used.
That was just.
I've actually
that
got
was-
some at
we
my
were
house.
Looking at both ends of the spectrum.
Four.
Yeah,
I
I've
changed
got
them out in the
some.
backyard multiple times and I have something that's in concrete. So I just put it in
Yeah.
and they're cutesy. They don't
And
matter.
you got a pool in your backyard and I've got stuff in my backyard, but I think a lot of the members of the community that use the splash park may not have them.
Well, yeah, but you can buy them at the dollar store. But you might want them to be matching. I'm telling you, next year by my pool, I will have sales. And I think that is a great idea.
I think the sales will actually give us the best. And it's something we can take down in the wintertime and it won't take away from the aesthetics of the fountain
So
itself.
if you buy the real ones, they're very durable, expensive, but durable.
Well, I must not know what
What
everybody's
I'm-
got in their mind's eye for a buck.
You know, we've got the material that we have on the seating over here, Anita, at the playground and then down here at the playgrounds.
I don't,
That material is kind of what I'm
well,
looking
that
at.
sales, yeah, I understand.
It's
what you're-
it's not a waterproof. It won't stop rain, but it actually shades.
Yeah,
It
the
allows
shade is,
air to blow through
Right.
too.
well, and we have blinds on our shelter that you can actually see through them, but it keeps the sun and everything from coming
Yeah.
in. So, yeah, I think we can. And I'm not trying to supersede the Parks Department. It's just
No.
when they bring it to you,
You gotta.
and I did contact the Parks Department as well. I mean, the committee.
Have they talked about it in session? Okay. What did he come up with?
I just asked about it. It's just, it was just brought to, Danae had said she'd been approached and she brought it up in the meeting. And that's where we are. And I'm looking right now to see what options we have.
All right, anything else? We're gonna go around and ask the council members here at the end. How about departmental reports? We'll start off with utilities. Oh, yeah.
We've got some resumes and Gene and I are gonna get together and review them and see if we can get some people hired pretty quickly. And both in the manager role and then also employees, because we're running short on people there. The other thing is, I won't step out the bounds too far here, but we did receive a grant recently for million, somewhere in that neighborhood, approximately.
Yeah, I was gonna wait and see if you brought it up. We did receive a grant for the PB Cloud project in the amount of $1,107,501. And it will completely cover the project.
Wonderful.
That takes care of some new clients as well along PB Cloud, and will connect 62 over to
Yeah,
Calvert Drive.
yeah. So from,
Make a loop in there.
yeah, Holly Hills Baptist Church area, you go up PB Cloud and it makes a loop and pulls in the people on PB Cloud.
And it
For
also
meters that they
repairs
want to tap on.
It will repair an issue that we've got where water line around PB Cloud and Mulberry is exposed in a ditch.
Yeah.
Get all that taken care of.
That'll help with water pressure and flow in a lot of customers' areas.
That's all I got.
That's easy. Fortunate enough to get that funded fully. That was, through the PAD district and competitive for all the rural grants. You're not gonna, government recognize that the utilities departments are pretty tough to make a living at it. And so they make a lot of grants flow and it's nice that they give us a competitive bidding process on that. So, we've got ongoing contracts with Rivercrest and they do a good job at staying on top of stuff and submittal of good projects. So I think that we're gonna have utility customers very happy when that gets completed.
What was that exact amount again, Ms. Glenda?
$1,107,501. It's very specific. And it is for the request, it was for the Cleaner Water Program.
So very happy to be getting that and lets us, grow the utility and service citizens of not only Calvert City, but our utility area. So
On the
awesome.
road sign there at Industrial Parkway off of Highway 62, it says Cloud Crossing.
I do not know. There's quite a variety in the names around the entire county. I don't know where they're getting them.
I thought it was quite cute.
They have some historical
I was waiting. for
names are
clouds to
popping up on
cross.
road signs all over.
The cloud crossing is the railroad crossing.
I was
You
thinking,
cross the railroad track there, that's the cloud crossing.
I'm in my
I
meanderings.
had no idea,
My
but I,
meanderings around the entire county, I'm seeing some signs in areas that I have to do some digging that I never knew them by that name, and they've been putting informational signs. So yeah, I've noticed the cloud crossing sign, and I knew cloud crossing was a railroad crossing. I've seen it on maps. It's been that way for a long time.
I just never knew it.
Been a railroad there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cloud crossing.
So now it's got the road sign to prove it,
That's
right?
right.
Well,
Maybe before we climb these things.
Chief, you got anything? No, Chief of Police,
I'm good.
you're good. And we've got something else, Tim?
Just that we've had a very busy week. We've had several fire calls, or like I say, our medical calls keep going up. People with trouble breathing because of the hot weather. So just again, I stress, make sure you check on your neighbors, especially if they're elderly. Have no one to check on them, just, please, please, please. Stress that to everybody.
Blair, back to you.
I'm gonna be quick. We have the citywide yard sale coming up on September 8th to the 10th. I put out about the photo contest, our calendar photo contest that's coming up. The theme is wildlife and landscapes. You can submit up to 10 photos. Due date is November the 4th. And then we'll give the calendars out at the tree lighting like normal. Food Truck Fridays, last Friday was the first evening switch. So I got half people that are mad at me, half people that are excited. But it went really well, and our Moonlight movie night went really well too. Yeah. Good crowd, and the PTO really stepped up and helped get everything out and put everything up, and it was really nice having that help. August the 26th, we're going to do a golf cart scavenger hunt during Food Truck Friday. So you can come grab something to eat, and then we're going to do a little scavenger hunt through the parks. On September 9th, during Food Truck Friday, we're going to do a cruise in. So if you have an old car, come on in, drive in, do a little cruise in on September the 9th. I'm working on, you guys, I don't know if you're familiar with like Google Street View, where you can drops, click the little arrows and it takes you through. Well, they're now doing things where you can actually go inside facilities. So we're going to do the airport and then also the Civic Center. Go inside it and look around. Google.
We're using right now.
Yeah, without having to come up here and look at it, you'll be able to see what it looks like. And with the airport, you would we'll actually go on the airstrip and you can turn right and you can turn left and see what you're flying into. The Kentucky Bicycle Commission is going to be staying in Calvert and having their annual meeting here, which is awesome, October 5th through the 6th. And they're going to stay at Kentucky Dam Village, and hopefully the plan is that every morning they bike in to the Civic Center, so they get to utilize our trails. And I told them all, I'm like, I'm going to do a survey, and so you guys can report back on what you guys think about the trails, what can be improved. We can kind of get some feedback from
So
people
When is
that
that?
ride every day.
When was that?
October 5th through the 6th.
What group?
Kentucky Bicycle Commission. Yeah. And then we've got the Fall Fun Fest scheduled for September 30th and October 2nd. It's usually one day. We're doing it 2 days since we got Food Truck Friday. I was going to let everybody set up.
You talk about the household waste coming up in
Yes.
September.
September 12th.
10th week. Second weekend in September.
Yes,
it's the weekend after, Labor Day.
yes,
We'll have our household pickup.
Yeah.
Our household hazardous waste collection down here at the park
It's
that
like
we
the
usually
night,
have.
right?
So
yes. Is it the
I think
ninth?
it's the night somewhere.
I think.
Greg's
it's right.
looking it up.
And it's September 10th.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go. Yes, we have that
September
coming up.
10th, yeah.
Um,
That'll be from 8 to noon.
yes. And then September 30th and October 2nd or October 1st, that's the Fall Fun Fest. And then we're gonna do a Fall Fling disc golf tournament. And it's really entry level. It's kind of a fun way to do a tournament. You can actually show up and play. And if you don't like your score, you can just do it again and just keep playing and playing and playing until you get the score that you want. So it's good for people that are new to the game and want to come out and just try it. And there's a guy out of Murray he came to me and said, I want to do a tournament here. He said, I love playing here. So we're gonna do it. He's familiar with it and I'm not. I used to play it like back in the day at Murray State when there was not any courses. You just said, okay, we're gonna hit this tree, go around. So that's all I've got.
That's all you got?
That's
a
it.
lot.
That's all.
Did you mention that, is it October 9th or September 9th that it's going to be Hocus Pocus playing? Or, I'm sorry, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
October 8th.
October 8th.
October 8th is the next September 30th is the next Moonlight movie night, and that's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. October the 8th, it will be the next movie night after that.
What was the September date?
September 30th.
Okay.
Yeah, September 30th, and that's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. October the 8th is Wizard of Oz. October the 8th. September the 30th is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And I mean, if we're gonna go into October, we do have the paddle up. So instead, we did Sled Creek to Kentucky Dam Village last year. This year, we're doing Kentucky Dam Boat Launch, which is right below the dam, to Haddock's Ferry. It's about an hour and a half kayak trip. Rescue squad's gonna help follow the kayakers along, and the tickets are out for that. So there's only a certain amount of tickets. If you don't have a kayak and you want to try it, you can go on and reserve a kayak through the fleet that we get through the Tennessee River line. October 8th. 8 o'clock. And the tickets are online. You can go on our Facebook page or I think it's on our blog too. You can go on and go through and sign up and get your tickets through the Facebook page. So anyway.
That's just not.
We just don't have anything.
Just don't have anything going on around here. Okay. Where are we? Projects report or airport? Projects report or airport? Let's go projects.
Talked to Brian Gittler and they have the bank on the agenda, but so hopefully here in the next month, we'll have something from that. He'll have a chance to get in here and take a look at it. He wouldn't narrow it down to a date, but it's.
So Giltner's a structural engineer.
Yes.
Okay.
Chastain, is that who it's with? Or Chastain's who the company, right?
Yes, that's
That's it,
Chastain, yeah.
Yeah. Good.
He's also the one that designed the pavilion at Old Park in the floodplain, so. Pickleball, basically the bleachers, it's done, the bleachers, no, it's not done. The bleachers are on their way, we've ordered them, they've been ordered for a couple of weeks now. And then I talked with Mr. Roberts 4 weeks ago, and he said probably 3 weeks. And last week I called him, he said probably another 2 weeks. I'm hoping that if next week, it won't be any longer than another week out. So hopefully we're breaking it down, but it could be as early as next week and it may be further out. I don't know.
It being the painting.
Pickleball painting, that's correct. He's got to do the court and he's the man to do it. And the only other options we have come out of St. Louis or Louisville. If you can get on their calendar. So, I mean, he does a great job. He did do the one at Benton. I think he did the one at Miller Park. right now he was in Marion, Kentucky, worked with Marion, Tennessee, Illinois, thank you. Marion, Illinois, doing 14 courts up there, so that's what he does for a living, but we're on there. And he said, he told me, he said, I'm trying to work you guys in because you got done a whole lot faster than I thought you would. So, the gravel roadway is all but done here between the Railroad Avenue and Doctor's Park back here. I think we like what finishing edges and stuff.
Pretty much. We
Got a little-
probably finished it up this week if this monsoon wouldn't have hit today.
So,
We're thankful for the monsoon.
Yeah, we needed the rain, but yeah, it put us back a little bit.
that's also put the basin back. They've just brought in extra equipment at the basin and now it's sitting in water out there, but it's on that. They're working with that too. As soon as he gets done with the roadway, he's gonna move to start in the parking lot back here. So at least the gravel portion of it. The bicycle or the mountain trail course. Are we up to what, 3 miles? Is it it was 2.1 and I think you've added more. So what?
I think he's up into 3 miles long.
That's what I thought. We're up to about 3 miles in the mountain bike trail. And of course, it's set for beginners, but I've already had one of the bike coaches has complimented the work that was done. And so they're looking forward to actually bringing the team over to do some work out over here too, the school team. So you notice we're doing some work on sidewalks down here at the around the restrooms. We put in a new sidewalk to the restroom, and then we're putting in a connection from the road access to the main trail that cuts across to the walking trail. So that's the next pour that we're getting ready to do is that one. The multi-use trail, they're working on, right now, the state is working for us to acquire the right of ways or the easements. And that's where we are with that. We've been talking back and forth on this item or that item, how we want to proceed with this and that. So it is moving forward.
I'm just curious, do you know how many property owners there are out there?
You got Ford, you got Copperide, you got Story, and I want to say 2 more. and I
Trader's
can't-
probably one of them too. Gary Trader's house is out.
No, it's not on that side.
No, that's on the other side. Okay. All right.
Everything we're acquiring is over on the east
Okay.
side, so,
Okay.
but there's
So it's
probably
like half a dozen, 7.
something like that.
Okay.
5,
I
6,
just
7.
was curious.
There's some lots down the bitter end, and you got the long Ford, and you got Stories, and you got kind of, I guess, totally.
I mean, the bulk of what we're looking at is actually stormwater conveyors. That's the bulk of it. But right now, we have to go through the process because it's a federal grant. But it is moving.
Is it?
Yes, slowly, but.
I'm
surely.
happy it's moving.
It was stalled there for a while.
I actually would like to see this done before I retire, which is still some time away. The leak prop at the fire training center that we were working on, when it took the old liquid trailer, it's complete.
On the demo at Wednesday.
Demo Wednesday at the meeting. And then Haddock's Ferry, the park and the dock down there, the stabilization, that's also on the to-do list. It's not there yet, but it's definitely on the to-do list this fall, so. We also have another table, memorial table going in. It's gonna go in across the side, across the walk from the pump house. It's going in there. There'll be a 2-person table, picnic table there. And then we've got the bike racks. And so those are also scheduled for this fall. So I think that's about it right at the moment. Unless you have any questions, because I'm sure I've forgotten something. Anything else that you all, did I forget anything that you can think of? No? Tim?
No.
Okay. And Linda? Oh, we are working diligently to get all of our plats, maps, surveys digitized on the server. We have gotten everything lined up. We're going back to double check, make sure we're not duplicating anything and getting all that together. So Bruce has been working hard on that. We're also moving to make sure that all of our records are becoming digitized and put on the server. So we also have only a hard copy that is required by libraries and archives for retention purposes, but we're also having it on the server so that we can actually quickly access it. That being said, cemetery is our newest operation. We're pushing back. We've actually got a layer the GIS has been working on with us, so that we have a location of all the different plots in the cemetery. And when there's a sale, it goes into the actual written document. The written document is completed. The sexton enters it in through the scanner in here to Glenda and to his computer. And then the hard copy goes to Glenda as well. That gives her the ability to put it on the server, a hard copy, and then the sexton will then be able to enter the information onto our GIS layer, so that it'll be on that as well. So eventually, we hope to set it up where a person can actually do some looking at who is where.
That keeps him from having to use the plat too, right? Does he use the plat at all?
He still uses the plat, but
Okay.
and
But
that would
that
be a hard copy, but
Yeah.
for the most part, everything, we're trying to get it to where you've got the cemetery on a screen with individual plots in there, and then you can select, you can do the plot, or you can do a search and find out where that plot is. So that's the ultimate, but we will keep hard copies of everything. I think we've had about 200 purchases or burials since we actually took over. I remember we've had, I think,
How long we had it?
took it over in
10,
9.
I think.
Uh,
I said in 10.
Yeah, 9 or
9
10
or
we took
10.
it over.
Probably have had
We've got about 200 I can't remember if these burials or for purchases of lots since we sold it, or since we took it over.
Well, I want to tell you the improvements that y'all have made in that. It's just the best thing that's ever happened over there.
And we have a new pump coming for the fountain down there too.
And today,
Came in today. Thank you.
All right.
I actually bought 6 lots last year.
My daddy will be happy the fountain's working. I got that beach's face in it, so my daddy will take care of the cemetery.
Okay. Last, actually not last, but last on this agenda so far, an airport update. We're waiting with bated breath anxiously.
Sure. I only have 3 items. We continued discussions with the state regarding the location and disposition of the fence project. The state's still interested in doing it, but to get those 3 agencies together to agree on something has been somewhat difficult. But we're making progress on that. Second item is, I know that many of you involved with the airport are interested in the airport getting an instrument approach. Your airport manager was called a couple of weeks ago by the Federal Aviation Administration. And about 3 years ago, a young engineer that working for us named Brandon, if you remember Brandon, he had submitted an application for an instrument approach. Little did we know that that was stuck in a corner office somewhere within the FAA. And somebody dusted it off and called John and said that your flight, check flight, which is the last step in getting an instrument approach, will be done in April of next year. And John assured them
that the known obstructions would be removed by then.
Either in daylight or in dark.
So John now has a contract to review for us to write specs, bid the project, and oversee the project for the removal of the obstructions. We continue discussions with the tree farm and the TVA to get those done. So really good news. Don't know how this happened, but we're not going to ask any questions because they might reconsider. So we're moving forward with that. The third item is that I will be unable to attend the September meeting. Either Melissa, our project engineer from Louisville, or Nate, our design engineer from Nashville, will be here. I only ask that you give them a hard time so they know how much I suffer when I come here. But carry on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, Scott was at the last meeting we had, and he got called away. He made it to the council meeting and then disappeared on us. So Scott, you got anything to share from the park?
Oh, really? You want me to?
Sure, I actually absolutely do. I mean, we want you to be 100% successful. And yeah, well, so what's going on with the park?
Well, let's see here. I think everybody got drunk. No, excuse me. Everybody came to the beer bash on this weekend. It seemed to be very successful, which is good. We're moving ahead on a couple of projects that have been in process for many years.
Years.
The sewer project, phase 1 had our pre-bid meeting today.
Good.
Yes, so maybe that'll be done by the time I retire. I doubt it, but we'll see. We've also had another pre-bid meeting for an electrical project, which enough said. People are enjoying the park. We've been very busy. Need anybody to work? I can put 30 people to work tomorrow. I literally need that many individuals on the park.
You got 30 openings at the park.
Probably.
330.
I could probably put 30 people to work. I actually have some skilled labor positions that need to be filled.
So you got some full-time positions.
They are not posted, but I would certainly consider talking.
So you've got some seasonal help needs.
I got seasonal help needs all the time.
And you got some other ones that would be full year permanent jobs.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And we've had a good year. It's been a very good year. It's not a 2017 year, eclipse year, but it's still nice to see people on the park as opposed to not having anybody on the park. So that's always a nice thing. And we got some good news coming. If you have not heard, it's unofficial, but we got some bass tournaments coming back next year, which will be really exciting to see them return.
And I stay with you.
What's that?
I said, my husband, I stay with you.
Yeah.
MLF. We keep having our tournaments. I said, we haven't left you. FLW.
Yeah.
Just putting, yeah.
I know. I respect that. I appreciate that. But no, we've got a couple of nice tournaments coming back next year for the first time in 5 or 6 years. So that'll be exciting to see. Means the lake is actually showing some promise.
Yeah.
Some rebound.
Yes.
Post Carpadium.
Yes. So
You got any shameless plugs for events for the next couple of months? Or no?
Not extraordinary at this point, no.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I mean, if you have not checked us out on the restaurant, it's open on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Again, because of staffing issues, I can't be open 7 days a week. But we're doing some good stuff in the restaurant. We've returned. And so, yeah, and if you need a place for your people to stay when they come to visit you, and you don't want to mess up your house, come want to mess up my house.
I'll give you a shameless plug. 12 of the ladies had lunch up there about a week ago and the food was just excellent. And I had fish, and that's some of the best fish I've had. It's really good.
I was down there for lunch on Sunday. And arguably one of the best buffets we've had come out on a Sunday in years. I mean, and that's no shame on me. I got actually, staff was really enjoying themselves.
It's good.
Sunday, so that's cool.
When you guys catered the open house for the airport,
Right.
that was very good as well.
Yep.
Very good.
A double brag. All right. Thank you, Scott. Even though you're not really part of the city, you are part of the city, so I appreciate the talk. Now, I would entertain a motion to go to the executive session if you guys have the mind to do so. But before we go, is there anything left dangling participles, Miss Glenda? You got something or anything that we need to cover? We're okay. We're good. We're good. Okay. Anybody else got?
Is this only for the potential property acquisition, right?
There may be a twofer here.
Yeah, we have a business.
Tell me whatever they are, because I'll need to make our rules.
Have to be in the statement.
That's yes.
We've got a business that wants to, that we need to talk about, that is interested in coming.
To a,
But I can't go into detail directly.
So we want to
Hang on a minute.
discuss a possible business.
well, we've got
And
a land
use
acquisition and a possible business. So Greg's looking at where the possible business fits in the exclusionary executive session thing.
Okay, we know what he was looking at.
So we may have to postpone that.
Discussions between the public agency and a representative of the business entity.
I want to talk more about a business than I do the land.
And discussions concerning specific proposal.
Sure.
Discussions between the public agency and a representative of the business entity. And discussions concerning a specific proposal, if open discussions would jeopardize the siting, retention, expansion, or upgrading of the business.
That's what I'm looking at.
Is that it?
Yep.
All right, you ready?
Do you need a motion before you read your, okay.
No.
Executive session. Why would we be in executive session, Greg?
Okay. Proposal is to enter into executive session for purposes of discussing potential future acquisition of sale of real property when publicity would likely affect the value of that specific piece of property to be acquired for public use or sold by public agency. And the other proposal would be to enter into executive session for a discussion concerning a specific proposal if open discussions would jeopardize the siting, retention, expansion, or upgrading of the business. Those are the reasons for the special session. The cause is to protect the privacy and the competitive nature of the individuals involved. The sections of 61.810, KRS 61.810 that are implicated are subsection 1, subparagraph B, and subparagraph G. And having made those announcements, you can now entertain a motion in the executive session.
So somebody like to make a motion?
I make a I'll second.
We
Take your
will Chris
pick,
with that motion.
Okay, we'll flip for the first and the second.
It does not matter.
Okay. Gotta take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?